Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. We got another interview with CEO of a junior exploration company. Zach Flood is from Kenorland, and they have a quite an exceptional, as far as I'm concerned, exploration project that I want to talk about. And they also have a series of other projects. They're kind of a project generator company. They've got a strong business model, and we're going to talk about with that with Zach. Zach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Alan, for inviting me on.
Well, let's start with the stock symbol.
Yeah, so we're traded on the Venture Exchange, symbol KLD. We're also on the Frankfurt and the OTC.
And your website is?
Kenorlandminerals.com.
That's KENORLAND minerals.com?
That's right.
Good. So, there's the place for you to do more research on the company, but let's open with Zach talking about your key project that we had a good conversation about the other day. I think that the market isn't really realizing the potential of that project. I sure saw it. So why don't you lead off?
Sounds good. Yeah, so we were talking about the Frotep project in northern Quebec, where we have a joint venture with Sumitomo Metal Mining Company, corporation, which is a Japanese mining company. Right now, the joint venture is held 80% Sumitomo, 20% Kenorland. We are the operator of the project, and we have been since the very beginning. That earns us about a 10% management fee on all exploration expenditures. So that's kind of how the ownership's held. The history of the
pretty good sign that they think highly of you guys as an exploration team when they're a major mining company and they're letting you guys do the work. How does that deal break down? Is that it 80-20 and you guys participate as partners?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a participating interest right now. The way we initially got involved with Sumitomo is, let's see, we can go all the way back to when Kenorland started in about 2016. It was 2017 that we had staked a large amount of the Frotep Evans Greenstone Belt. We staked around 56,000 hectares, so that's about 560 square kilometers. And our model at that time was, to find a major mining company to fund exploration on these greenfields projects, and we were kind of a small private company at that stage. And so we presented a really coherent exploration plan. It was about a 3-year exploration plan and budget to get from this big greenfields project down to testing a drill target conceptually. And initially it starts with a property-wide geochemical survey. So we carried out till sampling in 2018 and 2019. That was the main focus of work on the project after we had signed the deal with Sumitomo. And from collecting around 4,000 till samples over those 2 years, we ended up recognizing this big glacial dispersion plume enriched in gold. So Alan, you were mentioning you had spent a lot of time in the diamond business. Well, it's exactly the same approach here. So we're looking for, a signal where the glaciers they scraped over top of an ore deposit, either, in this case, gold, but the same thing with the kimberlite, and they'll smear the minerals from that deposit down ice. And so you're actually looking for something relatively large in terms of the footprint, and then you want to trace that back to the source. So that's exactly what we were trying to do, and then ended up doing. We found this big dispersion plume that was about 5 kilometers of really highly anomalous gold in the glacial till. Traced it back to the head of the till train, and then at the end of 2019, early 2020, we carried out some detailed geophysics and ended up putting the first diamond holes into this area. And made a high-grade gold discovery, and it's been rapidly developing since then. Our initial drill program was around 8,000 meters of drilling.
Before we
Uh,
get into the drilling, I wanted to mention that, you know, based on my experience with diamond exploration and sort of tracing the indicators back to the source based on the dispersion, the glaciers leave scars on the earth, striations that tell you the direction that the glaciers were moving. And the other big thing that it tells you is the closer to the source you get in diamonds, or in this case, gold, often the higher amounts of those indicators will be there. And also in your case, in the case of diamonds, you're looking for indicator minerals that are not rounded, they're angular. And that tells you that you're close to the source. In your case, you got high kicks of pristine gold grains and large amounts of them that tell you you're close to the source. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we had hundreds of pristine grains within the plume when we were pretty proximal to the source there, and we had found boulders initially too when we before we drilled this project, and really before we even did any detailed geophysics, we went out and just did simple boulder prospecting, and you're talking about an area that's only a few kilometers off the Route du Nord. So it was I think it surprised a lot of people out there that we had discovered a new gold system. But yeah, when we did that initial boulder prospecting, we found, you know, a few sizable boulders, very angular, and one of them ran up to 400 grams per ton. It was a large quartz vein, and so obviously, when you're seeing that stuff at the surface, it's a good indication that there's potential for high grade gold mineralization in the bedrock. So. Yeah.
Well, now we know that, you know, that highway is not that old. Like, it's not like at the Hemlo camp when, you know, you had the big highway going right beside it. That Route du Nord is fairly young. It's only been around for about, what, 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, they kind of opened up access to all of northern Quebec with this road. A lot of the hydro projects are accessed via the Route du Nord. So it's you know, it's not like a civilian highway, so to speak, but still a lot of people travel it, and a lot of prospectors obviously use it to gain access to northern Quebec as well. So
It's really opened up a large key area for mineral exploration.
yeah, it has. The James Bay region, you know, historically was pretty underexplored, and then the discovery of Eleanor with Virginia mines obviously brought a lot more attention to it. And today it's quite active. There's a lot going on up there. So we're kind of on the southern end of the James Bay region, or north of the Abitibi. So, and the Frotet
I used to get Andre Goumond on the shows fairly often, and he's the guy who found Eleanor. And I once asked him, I said, Andre, you know, you spent your whole career in the James Bay lowlands. Why? He said, well, the geology is great. It's underexplored, and I could spend the rest of my career here. And that's exactly what he did. And now you're kind of following in those footsteps, if you will.
Yeah, we're definitely we've definitely had our eyes on James Bay for a long time. We actually just staked a whole lot of ground up there and did a deal with a lithium company as well, because there's obviously potential for lithium pegmatites up there. But the Frotet Evans Belt, what brought us here was the Troilus gold deposit, which has a huge endowment. There's about 7 million ounces there. So anytime you're in a geologic terrain with,
and how close is that to you guys? And
it's about,
and also, are you in the same kind of rock packages, looking for the same kind of stuff?
yeah, so it's not really the same rock package. I'd say it's kind of a different domain within the belt itself. But what's interesting is the host rock. We are, you know, this gold system that we have at Renault is hosted within a diorite, diorite to tonalite intrusive complex, and that's similar to Troilus, which is on the kind of peripheral of a big diorite body as well. So it's got that intrusion related, maybe spatially related, but also potentially genetically related. But yeah, that's you know, it's a 7 million ounce gold system up there, so that definitely shows you that there's potential for that size of deposit in the belt, and also statistically, we thought that there probably was one other significant gold deposit. It would be strange to have one single multi-million ounce deposit in the belt somewhere, not a single other significant gold system. So I think we're on to that other gold system that could be really significant.
So now let's get on to the exciting stuff. The Truth Machine, your drilling success. You had some success, which brought in a big partner, and why don't you detail some of that for us?
Yeah, totally. So I guess it goes back to the initial drilling in 2020. The discovery hole really we refer to a lot as hole number 7. So the 7th hole that we drilled out here, and that hit 29 meters at 8.47 grams per ton, including 11 meters at 18. We had since then followed up in earlier this year. We released some results from the second kind of big phase of drilling, where we hit 5.72 meters at 90.56 grams per ton, including 3.89 at 132 grams per ton. So really, really high grade gold mineralization, and there's a really high grade silver associated with that as well, which is kind of unique for an orogenic gold system. We also had a big step out to the west. That was on R1, what we're calling. So we're starting to define these vein corridors. So we have R1, R2. So R1 is kind of where that discovery hole was made, and we're systematically stepping out along that as well. One of the big step outs earlier this year that we announced hit 25 meters at 6.29 grams per ton as well, which was a few hundred meters to the west. And then R2 has produced some really exciting drill results as well. Most notably, there was the second hole we drilled of that discovery program hit 3.75 meters at 16 grams, and there was a higher grade interval within that too. So R2 is developing well developing nicely into a second structure, and then R1 is really where our current drill program is really focusing on stepping out and infilling there. So we're putting about 10,000 meters into R1. There's about another kind of 4,000 meters or so going into R2, and then we have another few thousand meters that are plugging around the discovery area, looking for, you know, what could potentially be the R3 and R4, because we have a lot of hits peripheral to R1 and R2 that are probably associated with other structures as well. So the way we see this kind of unfolding in a geologic sense is you have this rigid diorite body that, you know, extends a few kilometers within this big east-west shear zone, and that diorite body is rotating and cracking and forming these veins, kind of, you know, stacked north to south. The veins are generally trending east-west, but you know, within this 2 kilometer kind of north-south corridor, we have these east-west veins. So there's R1, R2, and I think we're going to see R3, R4, etc. And really, we haven't even scratched the surface in terms of the depth potential on these. We're right now we're drilling down to about 300 meters, which is still very shallow on the structure. As we all know, these orogenic gold systems can extend, you know, multiple kilometers deep. So it's exciting times to be advancing a new discovery, especially a high grade gold discovery.
A couple things really stood out to me when I spoke with you the other day. Not only is the high grade, that always gets me going. I'm a high grade gold junkie. But what's important when you're looking at a high grade vein is the continuity of the gold mineralization along strike at depth. And importantly, also, I think something that not a lot of people always look at is across the drill hole. So what stood out when I looked closely at your cross sections was that, yes, you had excellent continuity of the along strike, which is suggestive of what you're going to find at depth, but it was across the distribution across the vein as well was quite eye-opening for me. I'm glad I gave you that call that day, Zach.
Yeah, it's that is, I think, what separates this particular system from many others, and I think we're going to continue seeing it, is the tenor of gold. It's extremely high grade. We have samples within these zones that are running, over 250 grams per ton, individual samples within the intervals. And of course, I mentioned that boulder that we found initially that ran 400 grams per ton. So it seems to be kind of a characteristic of the system is the potential for very high grades, for those bonanza grade, multi-ounce per ton. And you don't need to define a lot of tonnage when you're at really high grades to build ounces. So it's that's obviously why we like them, and aside from obviously the economic implications of underground mining as well. But yeah, as you mentioned, the continuity along strike. I mean, every hole that we've drilled through R1 looks like potentially economic intercept. They're not all 100-gram meter hits, but they're all everything. Every time we pierce that plane of the vein structure of R1, it looks like it's in that economic territory for an underground gold mine. And I think
And those are widely spaced holes too, so it stands to reason as you tighten up your drilling, which you're doing right now, you'll get a much better sense for the continuity of the high grade along strike and at depth.
Yeah, and really importantly too, finding the kind of plunging chutes that could be bigger and higher grade, where you have a lot of that mineralization and veining focused. So that's step one is find the plane of mineralization. Step two is kind of drill it off, and then ideally understand your controls on the plunge, which we're beginning to understand now after putting 10,000 plus meters into R1. And the strike, it's looking good in terms of strike. We're kind of at around 800 meters of strike now. It's open east, west, and down dip. So R1's looking really good, and R2 as well is developing really nicely into another significant structure. So,
well, you bring up a good point there, because I don't think that investors really understand in these high grade systems of orogenic nature, like for example the Swan Zone at Fosterville in Australia. The strike length, I think, is like about 150 meters.
yeah.
But what's important is the depth dimension on that. And you're not talking about very wide either. So you're looking for a thin little lens that's extremely high grade and very profitable to mine. So 800 meters is quite exceptional for what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. The strike length of some of the plunges, some of the higher grade chutes in these gold systems can be less than that, even like 50 meters in strike. You see Amex, they've got these really kind of limited strike, but it's going down 2 kilometers, and the continuity along that chute is tremendous. So that's really important, is to understand the controls on the geometry of those high grade chutes. And you can't really understand that until you systematically drill off a vein like we're doing right now on 50. Right now we're taking it down to about 50 meter centers on the long section. So I think that's going to give us a pretty good understanding of where to go from there. So yeah, it's
that brings me back. Earlier, I said there was a few things that stood out to me on this project. The other one is, and I think is very crucial, not only do I think you have what looks like a very exciting vein already, but there is potential for multiple veins in this system. And by understanding the plunge, you get a sense of what could happen depending on faulting and whatnot like that. But you get a sense for how to look for other really good looking veins.
Totally. Yeah. And this program, like it's such early days. Like this was the drill program that's underway right now is following up on our understanding of just the general strike length. So, you know, the previous drill program to this, we didn't even know which way the veins were striking. So we had an idea that, you know, they could be going northwest, or sorry, northeast to southwest, or northeast, or they could have been going east-west. And it took, you know, it took a bit of drilling around the discovery hole at 007 to actually kind of link up and link up some of the hits and realize that the veins actually going east-west. And now that we have that understanding, now we're going in and infilling and drilling out along strike of that. So it really is like, it's a, you know, there's steps involved in a discovery and understanding a new mineral system like this, and we're still at the early days. So A, you know, find the system. B, find the strike. Now we're at kind of C, find the geometry of the plunge of potential high grade shoots.
Well, don't forget that part about finding the sweet high grade.
Yeah, that's the key, I think.
You know, one thing that I've been very fortunate throughout my career to have some exceptional mentors in geology, geophysics, and geochemistry. And one thing I've really prided myself on is my ability to recognize things early. And as you said, you guys are really early in this, but what you've found so far is quite exciting. I'm shocked that more people aren't aware of what you guys are doing, but I'll try to help that part.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I'm really glad that you recognize that. We've definitely been talking about it a lot, but you know, it's not very often that you see a greenfields discovery kind of unfolding, and it doesn't happen overnight. And it takes a lot of drilling to really prove something up and convince the masses that this is really significant. But like you said, you know, if you can recognize it early, then that's a great opportunity for investors as well. But
absolutely, especially when you know, you've got such a big partner. Those guys are sharp dudes at Sumitomo.
yeah, they are. They're very technically savvy. They've operated numerous high-grade underground gold mines. Pogo was the last, well, they have Pogo up in Alaska, which was a complex underground high-grade gold system, and then Hishikari, which is one of the world's highest grade underground gold mines in Japan, and that's their
in the world, I think.
Yeah, sorry, in the world, and it's really great to have a partner that is also, you know, has the capability to advance things materially in a rapid manner too, if they choose to. These things cost a lot of money to drill out, and they take a lot of time. So I mean, we're talking, you know, we're going to be around almost 50,000 meters into it after this drill program, and it's going to take a significant amount more drilling to really start to define something. And I mean, you could see it happening with Great Bear and Amex as well. Those are two relatively young discoveries, one on the LP fault, the other one there on the Jacoby Deformation Zone in the Abitibi, and they take hundreds of thousands of meters to drill, and equally, you know, as a large amount of money, large amount of capital. So,
well, and you have that 80-20 JV, so you know, you guys only have to put up 20% of the money, so you get a large bang for your buck when the other partner is putting in 80% of every dollar.
Definitely, yeah. We just, you know, on a per share basis, as the project itself advances and hopefully increases in value, Kennerland's getting its share of it, but we're only putting in and only diluting our when we have to finance, we're only diluting as much as we need to hold that 20%. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off for sure, but also you have to recognize the amount of risk involved in these discoveries as well. I mean, it's very risky still at all these early stages until it's all said and done and drilled off, and you have a economic study on something, there's still a huge amount of risk involved in all this, and the dollar figure just keeps growing as you need to advance it more and more. So I think Kennerland's pretty comfortable just, you know, maintaining its 20% right now, and seeing where it goes.
Well, that brings up the final thing I want to talk about today, Zach, is your business model. You struck me as a very sensible guy. One thing that I've been in this business since 1993, and I don't really see a lot of juniors that operate with a good sound business model. And so let's touch on that, touch on a little bit of your other projects, and then we'll wrap it up. How's that, Zach? Because I like that level-headed and smart exploration business plan.
Yeah, definitely. We're, I think, going back to when we started the company in 2016, this company wasn't formed like a lot of the other companies you see on the board there. We really bootstrapped it. A lot of our own money personally went in. The founders are all still working with the company. And when we created it in 2016, the idea was really to grow a kind of almost sustainable business. It's tough to be completely sustainable as a junior explorer, but you can try to offset some of the capital costs by bringing in partners to fund exploration. So that was always our goal initially, was, you know, to stake ground and bring in ideally majors who understand what a real greenfields exploration project takes, which is, you know, millions of dollars and multiple years to get to a drill target. So we've tried partnering up with majors. We worked with Freeport up in Alaska. We have 2 projects that we're working with Sumitomo on in Quebec. We have another project that's optioned to Newmont Corporation in Quebec, and recently we signed another deal with Barrick in Ontario. So I think that shows the type of partners we're looking for on these projects. They understand.
Well, you know, it's one thing to look for those kind of partners, Zach. It's to attract those kind of partners requires thorough and smart exploration, and you guys have the formula for how to do that, to bring the kind of projects that majors are looking for, and then doing the deals.
For sure, and then carrying out the exploration as well. We have a really great team that can actually handle all this exploration. We've got the capacity to manage all the operations. This year we managed $17 million in exploration. A large part of that's partner funded, and you know, the kind of icing on the cake for this model is that we can generate revenue through managing the exploration and collecting management fees. So there's about $2 million in revenue coming into the company this year, which more than covers our overheads. And that is unique as well in the junior exploration space. Is having that revenue is really important to, again, kind of minimize dilution, and I think that's key to longevity. Because,
well, and you know, it's not easy to keep a team and the cost of that team together, and most companies end up diluting themselves to crazy to try to keep those teams. But because you've got these the revenue coming in from the operating the exploration, you can keep a really strong team together and not over dilute your stock.
Definitely, and keep everyone excited, because we're doing tons of exploration, and that's what geologists love to do, is go out and keep turning ground, keep collecting samples, keep drilling holes, and there's a lot going on inside the company, and that's I think it's important for morale within the team, and also our investors. They always have something new to look forward to, and we're going to have a ton of results coming out this fall. So it's got a couple big drill programs that happened this year, and more drilling in the winter, and a lot of our targets from our pipeline projects, which are fairly early stage, are starting to get to that drill stage as well. So yeah, we're all about just doing as much exploration as possible, trying to minimize that dilution, and create a real kind of dynamic exploration company that's different than most others out there.
Well, and you know, the Truth Machine is called that. The drilling is what gets everybody excited. So let's talk a little bit before we close off on about what is pending and then what's near term pending, if you will.
For sure. So the two big drill programs that were going on this summer were Frotet, which we just talked about. There was an 18,000 meter drill program. We're about 3/4 of the way through that right now. So that's going to be, a steady flow of results into the fall here. And we will be releasing results as we have kind of a significant batches of those results ready to go and compiled and interpreted. And then the other drill program that we carried out this year was in the Goodpaster district of Alaska, up near Pogo. That's on our Healy project. And Healy was a project that we optioned from Newmont, and credit to Newmont, they really did flesh out a brand new gold system that no one's ever recognized up there after multiple years of doing regional exploration. And we kind of have carried it into the drilling phase, the initial maiden diamond drill program. So we drilled about 5,200 meters up there this summer on that maiden drill program. We're going to wait for all the results to come back from that, and we'll be releasing kind of the total program all at once in the fall, once we've been able to digest everything in terms of the geologic interpretation and geophysics and whatnot. So that's all probably going to come out November, just December, just based on the turnaround times right now, which are about 2 months at the labs. And then some of our other projects that are getting closer to drill stage is Chikobi. So we should have something coming out on that pretty soon. That's in the central Abitibi. We've done about 2 years of systematic geochemical sampling there, and we're at a coherent till anomaly that we're going to be kind of applying detailed geophysics on, and then ideally we'll be diamond drilling it by early next year. That's all contingent on whether or not Sumitomo puts up the funding for it. And then Shabistawan, which is our project with Newmont. Again, that's one where we've carried out this large scale property-wide till sampling last year. This year we did follow-up phase 2 till sampling. Right now we have prospectors out in the field doing that boulder prospecting, and then hopefully we'll be hitting it with detailed geophysics, and again refining it to drill stage pretty quickly here. So those are kind of the main things to look out for in terms of drilling. We have a lot of other activity happening on some of our other projects. Obviously, the deal we just signed with Barrick, they have people on the ground right now carrying out property-wide till program in the Red Lake district. That's covering about 70,000 hectares. We have the Tanacross project up in Alaska, which is an advanced stage porphyry copper gold system. We did a huge amount of surface work in geophysics up there this summer, so we'll collate all that data, and I'm sure there's going to be some great drill targets that come out of that one as well. So, I think the key for us is having this kind of pipeline of projects from really early grassroots stage, property-wide, geochemical sampling into that target definition, and then initial drill stage, and then we do have some obviously advanced drilling at the Renault discovery as well. So if we can keep that pipeline flowing and keep testing, new targets, new discoveries will be made. I can almost guarantee that. So.
Well, it kind of strikes me, and as you were talking, your business model is very much like someone I brought up earlier, Andre Goumond, and his Eleonore discovery that was bought out. Then they spun out assets into a new company, which was bought out. Then they spun out assets again to a new company that was bought out. Now he's retired. And I think he's just an investor and an advisor. But what was the big start of that success was they decided not to joint venture Eleonore. Do you have any of those kind of projects that you might keep for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're looking at up at Healy, one that we just drill tested. It was, the target was too attractive to try to, partner out. We're staring at a large golden soil, multiple large golden soil anomalies in an area that hadn't been drilled. The geology looked really favorable. Newmont's Blake sampling kind of indicated that that was an area where there was a big gold system. There was multiple catchments that were running anomalous in gold. So when enough, when enough of these boxes are ticked and the target looks attractive enough, it's worth taking. We'll take a shot at things every once in a while if the drill target's that obvious. We're not going to do that with all of our projects. We still, want the majority of our exploration funding coming from partners. And it's interesting you say that about Eleonore, because the story I heard was that they were trying to option that out, and they just no one made an offer on it. No one wanted to fund that, and they kept advancing it until they had made the discovery themselves. And at that point, it was obviously too late for other partners to fund, and so they carried on themselves. So
Well, there was two good things to learn from that in a project generator model. One is that, sometimes you find something that you want to drill yourself. The second thing is that series of being able to spin out, they bought Eleonore, but then they could take all those other assets and build another company that was bought out, take all that was left over and build another company that was taken over. So, I think that's, you strike me as a young Andre Gamond, Zach.
oh, that's a very nice thing to say. Andre is an amazing entrepreneur in this industry. I look up to him. I look up to him a lot, and
So
hopefully
do
we
I.
repeat the success of Virginia Mines. That would be nice.
Yeah, Virginia Gold Mines, Virginia Mines, he did it, serial entrepreneur. So, well, let's wrap it up. Was there any closing comments you wanted to make, Zach, before I close things off?
No, I think we covered a lot of it. Everyone listening, just keep an eye out for a lot of results this fall, and hang in there. And it's been a tough gold market, but we're still out there, head down, adding value and advancing all these projects, which is, that's what we're here to do. So, and we enjoy it very much. And thanks a lot, Alan, for bringing me on.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and I'm going to close things off, and I'm going to say, I think it comes out as to what I look for in a project specifically, and especially in high grade systems, is the continuity, along strike, at depth. Amex Exploration is a sponsor of my website. I've interviewed them a lot, and that's what they've found. And I tapped into that at the early stages. And I think we've got another one of those kind of success stories. But I also like the business plan. Zach and his team, he's able to put a good team together that does good work, that enables them to get revenue coming in as operators of the project, and keep that team together doing good work. But even on a more grander scale, this has the flavor to me of what happened to Virginia Gold when they made the discovery of Eleonore, and the spin out potential, and keep going. And if you get yourself as a project generator, a lot of good projects, and you have success on those projects, that's the kind of path you can follow. And Andre's been a guest on my shows. I've spoken with Andre Gamond many times. I consider him a mentor. And what made me really impressed with Andre is he ran an exploration company like a business. I think that's what Zach and his team at Kenorland is doing. So as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to do your homework. I suggest you check out their website, look at their corporate presentation. There's a lot of good information in there. Take a look at the cross sections of the drill holes, and you'll see the continuity along strike on wide spacing, and the continuity inside each drill hole. And I think that's what tells me that they're onto something quite impressive. And I think that's what told Sumitomo as well. So do your homework and check out their website. And I'm sure they're available for phone calls too. So you'll find their number on there. And this is a really good one for you to do your homework on. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.